Hello, and welcome to another episode of Leader Generation brought to you by Mata. I'm your host, Tessa Burg, and today I'm joined by Dhiraj Rajaram. He is the founder and CEO of Mu Sigma, and we're going to be diving into why most AI strategies are failing to deliver on real business impact. This is a common topic on the podcast. Dhiraj is bringing some real world examples to help you better understand where you need to start and how to use different types of frameworks, not only to determine what you build, but how to fully change the process in which you are operating to unlock real innovation and real value. Dhiraj, thank you so much for joining us today.
Tessa, thank you for having me. It's an amazing opportunity for me to speak about this topic.
So, before we jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself and Mu Sigma.
Tessa, my name is Dhiraj Rajaram. I am the founder and CEO of Mu Sigma. I founded this company about 22 years ago. Went on to be India's one of India's first unicorns, and today are India's most profitable AI company. Um, we typically work with large Fortune 500 companies, uh, helping them, helping prepare them for uh, a new world of algorithms. We think of ourselves as transformation Sherpas. And this journey, even though the word AI is relatively new, we have been working around this topic for quite some time. It used to be called advanced analytics. It used to be called big data. It used to be called machine learning, predictive sciences, so many different words. And for this perspective that our world can be made very different by using technology. So we find, so we've kind of learned by working across Fortune 500 companies across more than 11, 12 different industries. And the learning is more whole because of the fact of the diversity of customers that we work with. So that's Mu Sigma and me at a high level. I think of myself as uh, uh, both a creative person and a programmer. Uh, both are part of me. I do think that programmers can be very creative. so
I
with
agree.
uh, so with that perspective, I've always felt that there is a need for changing how problem solving is looked at in the world. So that's
Mhm.
the broad perspective from which we built Mu Sigma. Not thinking about it as data or data science, but more as decision sciences. And I sincerely even now believe that even though the new buzzwords like AI are available, I feel the bigger perspective is about decisions. The big D is about decisions. How
Yeah.
beings make decisions, and why we are going to get better and better at it because of all of this technology that surrounds us.
Well, you are the perfect person to guide us through this conversation today, since you have actually not only just started helping, as you said, shepherd people through this AI journey, but have seen it be successful. And right now, a lot of people are talking about ROI, but they still aren't able to get to a place where they go from pilot to scale. And you describe this as the AI value gap. Can you tell us what exactly is that gap and why are so many organizations finding themselves stuck there?
Sure, sure. See, let me start by claiming where I feel we are. Um, great new technology has created a bubble. Um, and AI is one of the biggest and greatest technologies that human beings have come up with, and therefore is going to create a bubble. We are already in that bubble. So which means that you're going to see some disappointment. You have to go through this journey of disappointments. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to change our world in the long term. The first thing first is that consumer AI got us excited, and
Hmm.
boards got excited, senior managers, senior executives got excited. They could play with it. They could download Claude. They could download ChatGPT. They could play with it, do maybe a few things that they never thought they could do. And quickly they went to the middle management and their own teams and said, why can't we change our world based on all of this? And when that happened, it seemed quite logical that, oh, the world is going to shift tremendously. But what we didn't anticipate as much is the unaddressed complexity in many large organizations. As these organizations have become more and more successful, they have been adopting layers and layers of unaddressed complexity.
Mm.
Uh, I call it the spaghettification of the organization. This spaghettification means that the organization is more connected than it can fathom. Um, it While it believes that its people believe that they want to be independent and they really love their independence, they are now more interconnected and interdependent than ever.
Mm.
So they'd like to work from home, but they can't work from home. They can't make things happen when they do that. There's the spaghettification came out of very valid reasons. It came from past success. Because when you have success, you have a new market, a new product, a new type of customer. Every time something new comes on the old.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, that has meant there's a lack of transparency of data. There's a lack of persistence in conversations between human beings. There's a lack of cumulativeness of the compute environment. People land up doing projects to projects, not programs. All of this has meant that for this new technology to land into this spaghettified world, it makes it very, very hard. And the old world in which they were thinking about problem solving worked out very well for them, but it's not going to work out in the future for the very same reasons.
Hmm.
So we've kind of learning why it won't work and what the new world ought to be, in which you can live up to the promise of enterprise AI. But as of now, we are going through the trough of disillusionment, I would say, disappointment. But that's something we have to experience, and we have to experience that to go through the good parts of what it could do for us. But we need to change our mind in many ways of how we think about problem solving.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong call out because you started by highlighting that there have been other technological bubbles, but this one is different in that we can't treat it, how we go to market with it, how we use it to serve our customers as just a tool on top of what we're doing. We have to change how we're doing what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I think it was a really powerful statement that you said people want to be more independent, but they don't fully realize how connected they are. And I hear this a lot when we start with really where to get started with AI. And we look at an existing process and you start to learn about the different steps and we ask about the points of friction. But the way people look even at those points of friction is almost why they're necessary or where they came from. And they do couch it in past successes, not realizing that that could be the thing that's actually holding them back. And it's it's sort of hard to be like, okay, we can learn from what we did in the past, but we can't exactly and to make decisions the same way. And I really love to dive a little bit deeper into that because you're proposing to make decisions differently, not going above and beyond just working differently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. First of all, I would say that every bubble, every new technology bubble has said this time it's very different.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think it's but the reality is every new technology is built on previous technologies and therefore has to be bigger.
Hmm.
There's a natural inflation in the bubbles, in the nature of bubbles. It's a natural inflation. I'm saying it won't be called a bubble if it was the same bubble as the last one. Well, we would
Hmm.
have got used to it.
Yep.
A bubble is something that creates an amount of expectation that it does not meet for a long time, and that is when the feeling of that disappointment is all of those things that makes it a bubble, right?
Yeah.
So by the very nature of it, it has to be bigger.
Hmm.
So I would start with that. The second thing I would say is that everything that we have done uh, has come from a very much more deterministic world than today. Um, so, so what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is that the world that we live in, as we continue to do better and better, if you are a large company, a large retailer, or a large pharma company, the market gives you permission to exist on an everyday basis, and you're winning that permission from the market. Each time you win that permission, you're kind of the very nature of you proving uh, proving to the market that you deserve to exist means that you are you are absorbing more and more complexity in your world. Now, what that means is that you are no more competing on just economies of scale, a bigger is better world. You are now have to compete on economies of speed,
Hmm.
uh, which is a faster is better world. Uh, the bigger is better becomes like a standard now. And then what is the differentiator becomes faster is better. You're no more competing on just products and services that has become standard. You're competing more on building experiences, which has become the
Hmm.
differentiator. Now, as we enter such a world, the deterministic environment around which we learned problem solving is challenging us because we have entered a non-deterministic uncertain world. Now let's understand the source of uncertainty a bit. First thing is that your organization has more and more internally, it has what is internal to the organization. Think of the organization as what is internal to it and what it gets affected from outside in. So, what is internal to it is the unaddressed complexity. Then the market volatility is impacting it from outside. The problem ambiguity is impacting it a little bit from outside, a little bit of from inside, because problems can exist both inside and outside your world. So, when you have problem ambiguity, market volatility, and unaddressed internal complexity interacting with each other, that produces a certain amount of uncertainty. That uncertainty, to deal with that uncertainty, you need a very probabilistic way of thinking about problem solving. Every one current state does not have one future state, it could have many, many future states. So, how do you think of problem solving in that world? You'll have to change your ways of problem solving. So, that's what I'm, learning as I interact with all these organizations.
Yeah. So let's focus on what you've observed and what you've learned from working with many different organizations. Do you have a couple of examples of companies that are doing this really well, or that maybe
Sure.
they've gone through the wave of disappointment and they've come out on the other end?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're working with a large home improvement retailer, and what we saw that they any organization is in the business of persuadability. So, like, if the people in the organization cannot persuade the organization to do something, it's not a good organization. So you
Hmm.
have to be able to persuade the organization. It's like a machine, right? So you can have like various types of machines. You can have an alarm clock which you persuade to ring at a particular point of time by setting the alarm clock, and it's a small memory it has, and it captures that, hey, 5 a.m. I have to ring. Then you have a thermostat where the memory is a little bit a richer memory because you're constantly real time checking temperature and changing things. And then you have maybe a nice pet, which has emotional memory. It really cares about you, it cares about your feelings. And then you have human beings who kind of have very complex memories. They remember more things than you would like them to remember, you know? And that's a very different way of interact. So as the memory quality of memory increases, your persuadability increases. So your
Hmm.
organization is an organism. It's also a machine. It's also an organism, and it has its own memory. But the quality of memory is something we have to ask. What is the quality of memory? Now, today, there is a reality representation gap. What that means is, in an IT system, if you're a home improvement retailer, inside the IT system, I have a pretty good understanding of the number of door frames that was sold in store number 32. But what I don't have is all the decisions that were taken to make that number happen. I
Hmm.
don't have the discounts given. I don't have the relationships with the vendor. What the contractual obligations were. I don't have the shrink inside that store. I don't have the weather outside the store that affects that. So I don't have all of this information, but I have just this one information stored in rows and columns, which says so many door frames were sold. So what you have is an action trace. You don't have a perception trace and a decision trace. Human beings go through perceptions first, then decisions, and then actions. But all you're capturing in IT systems is actions. So
Hmm.
you have a low quality memory because it is only a memory of data coming from an action trace. You don't have a memory of process coming from the decision trace and a memory of purpose coming from the perception trace. So you have very low quality memory. So unless you change that quality of memory inside the organization, first thing. And second thing is you have to stop thinking about problem solving in parts. So we got
Hmm.
very good at problem solving in parts. We like to do this marketing, we like to do pricing, we like to do forecasting, we like to do replenishment, we like to do supply chain. So we became very good at doing things in parts. But we got to start seeing things as a whole because experiences are made as a whole. The
Hmm.
customer sees the whole. He doesn't see just marketing, he doesn't see just forecasting, he sees the whole. So how do you get a customer who sees the whole? If you want to produce experiences that see the whole, you have to do problem solving as a whole. So you have to stop doing problem solving as entities or in parts. You have to start solving for problems as interactions as a whole. So this new perspective to seeing problem solving as interactions needs not a world of rows and columns, which is databases, but it needs a field of context, which
Hmm.
has a perception trace, a decision trace, and an action trace. So, what we are helping large organizations do is before you jump into AI, build a field of context. Understand the field of context. See, what AI is doing is it is easily exciting people to be builders.
Hmm.
So everybody has a higher builder mindset now. Oh, I can do this with Claude. I can do this with Open ChatGPT. All of this, I can do this with new technology. Everybody is excited to have a higher builder mindset. But it is not purely a builder mindset that helps you solve a problem. It's also the user mindset. So the builder mindset and the user mindset have to improve the interactions between each other. They have to harmonize that interaction. A very heavy builder mindset with a very poor user mindset is worse off than a medium builder mindset and a medium user mindset. So the So what we are saying is, how do you bring empathy into the problem
Hmm.
space? To bring that empathy into the problem space, Tessa, we have to build fields of context and see the problem space as a whole and bring more design thinking into the problem solving space. There are only two personalities in an organization, and I said not two people but two personalities. And I could take on any personality, but the two personalities I could take on are being a problem solver or being a solution consumer. So the interaction between problem solvers and solution consumers must work really, really well. And that's what we are facilitating using a field of context.
That was an amazing answer. And I think one of the most powerful things that you said was around the context. And for those who are sitting in a seat and they're like, well, my organization hasn't allowed me to get access to the tools to build. I know they can build. At home, I might be using these tools to build things. I'm feeling like I might be behind. And the organization themselves is like, we got to start with this strategy first. We have to start with maybe a specific app or tool first, and then we'll decide who gets what. When I hear that type of process that a lot of and this is, many different organizations doing this, but especially in businesses like banks and hospital systems where they feel they have more regulation, I feel like what they're missing is exactly what you said, which is start with the context first. And every business, not just those industries, have created their own complexities that have kept them separate. And I don't think they've brought that to the front yet. They're not, there's not enough, they have to have a time where they're bringing, like you said, more empathy for why there are gaps and blockers and separation, and not so much of following the same processes they used to follow, where it's like, well, we're going to try it over here, and this department owns this, and that department owns that. Like, where's that field of context? I just love that phrase for
Yeah.
what are the things that we need to decide on together.
Yeah, they also deserve empathy because those organizations have not had a need for that till today.
Yeah,
So
true.
the need for that is arising from the sudden increase in possibilities and the sudden increase in the builder mindset.
Hmm.
So while technology companies from the west coast of United States have done a lot to increase the builder mindset in the world, they've not done enough to increase the user mindset. So and that has to be done by the users themselves. So that happens in Atlanta and Bentonville and Chicago, where these technologies have to land, in Idaho, in in places where companies that make stuff happen, make stuff that we
Hmm.
use, we eat, we consume. you know so enterprise AI is about helping enterprises that make things that we consume. you know so it's different from yeah, you can do cool things in the consumer world because it does not have as much unaddressed complexity.
Hmm.
A consumer is still a single person organization. Think of what is a consumer, a single person organization. you know so when you see the world you have only two types of organization: a single person organization and a multi-person organization. And then you have when you have large number of people, the amount of interactions between them has created so much complexity, and that gets compounded with geographic distance, market distance, product distance, segment distance, technology distance. So all these distances start creeping in to just the number of people issue. So what worked in the consumer world, it not working in the enterprise world, we should not be so surprised by it, but seems like we are surprised by it. But that's a natural bubble that gets created. make something work cool in an end consumer world, create a big bubble, create a big valuation, consume a lot of money from that valuation, make sure you can use that money to make other things work. So this is a typical pattern. So we get fooled again and again the same way, through an interaction between a technology guy and an investment banker coming together and doing this again and again to us, and we kind of like our sheep, uh, you know.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But this is not a new pattern. This is an old pattern.
Yeah. No, that's true. It is. I just chuckle because this pattern is actually part of the show Silicon Valley, which was made like a really long time ago.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they
yeah,
talk about that cycle in a funny and amusing way. It's like one of my
yeah.
favorite
Yes,
TV
yes,
shows.
yes.
Um,
We are human beings are quite amusing.
yes, yes, they are. Like you said, we're like sheep, and I think they even use that same phrase, which
Yeah,
that show just like cracks me up.
yeah.
So if we look at, I want to make this more, help make it more tangible for listeners. And you cite a couple of examples. They are CPG companies that have done this well. And I believe it's Starbucks and Pizza Hut. Tell us a little bit about what have you seen and the way that they've changed the way they make decisions that then does impact the experience and impact their customers.
Sure. I could even show you a small example in a video. I don't know if I'm allowed to share that here.
We can
But
definitely put the link to the video on the podcast page on the website. So yeah, we
yeah,
can take a look at it and you can voice over it and we'll make
yeah,
it
yeah. So
available.
I can let me start by saying, the patterns, and then I'll play the video for you, and then you can keep it as part of the recording. Um, but and then you can decide. But here is the thing, right? First thing is, appreciate the fact that your old world of problem solving came from a world which was one current state has one future state. Now you have one current state has many possible future states. So in your old world, you could use ROI as a governing principle. You can't use ROI anymore as a governing principle. You have to use ROO, return on options. So you have to only answer to uncertainty is optionality. The old world was linear, where you could go from one current state to one future state. The new world, you can't be linear. You have to be a little non-linear in your thinking. The old world was purely intelligence based and logic based and IT based and waterfall model. The new world is no more just logic based. It is an intelligence based. It is intuition based. It's design based. It's observation based. So you have to take that design perspective and combine it with the intelligence and the intuition have to combine together to create a new way of thinking about problem solving, where clarity emerges through action.
Mm,
Uh, in the old world, action emerged because of clarity, and you got all your clarity, and then you decided to act. Now you don't have all the. We are living in a world I call Jack knows Jack shit. So in that Jack knows Jack shit world, you have to keep be humble about the fact that we don't know the what will happen in the future, but we kind of have a sense that we have to make progress, and through that progress we learn more and more, and then we kind of live with that humility on a constant basis. You kind of literally have to live with humility a lot more in the way you think about problem solving. So which means that you cannot be solving problems as parts. You have to be problem solving as whole. You have to be problem solving using interactions. Your source of truth cannot be databases. Your
mhm.
source of truth has to be field of contexts. So preparing your organization for solving specific problems will also include that you will prepare your organization for a better art of problem solving. You will develop better capability.
Mhm.
You cannot just make good food, you have to build a better kitchen too.
Yeah.
So organizations, if they say that, this AI thing is exciting, I'm going to make better food with it, they're going to fail. They have to understand that, this AI thing is a new kind of cooking. I'm not going to be able to make this new kind of cooking till I upgrade my kitchen for Italian food. I need a pasta maker. I need a cheese grater. I need a better oven. I need this. I need that. You can't suddenly go from Indian cooking to Italian cooking without having all these other aspects. Most of cooking in the West has been assembling. They call it cooking. They just assemble stuff. You know, the East has given you a different perspective for cooking. Cooking is much more than just assembling.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now I think organizations are going from an assembling world to a real cooking world. So a lot of things have to happen. They have to build a better kitchen. They have to their world is now complex enough. So there's no difference between Western world and Eastern world other than the amount of complexity and history involved in it. So the same thing is happening to organization. We just are taking in more and more complexity now.
I love that analogy to build a better kitchen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so easy to relate to because that breaks down the walls in the organization. It invites, you know, different perspectives, different ingredients, different flavors to all come together in a shared space.
Yeah, I
And
could actually, you know what, I could play this video for you and maybe pause and show you what a field of context looks like, just to make
sure.
you and the audience look. So this is what a field of context looks like, right? This one is not just about the data that you have, but also all the purpose of that data, the process of that data, how it flows, what
Hmm.
questions are you asking, how are they connected to each other, and seeing all of that in that way. So that's gives you makes it real for you.
One thing I will say about that visual for people who are just listening, is it looks a lot like a mind map. And can you tell me a little bit about the clusters on that
Yeah.
mind map?
Yeah, it is. That's the word I get a lot. It's a mind map, and that's a good word to start off with. But now I say it's not just a mind map; it's a field of consciousness.
Hmm.
So the field of context is a field of consciousness, a lot more than just mind. Mind is when the thinking happens, you know.
Hmm.
But there is a lot of things that happen, when I ask you, Tessa, about the most important decisions of your life, it's nothing to do with your mind, how you fell in love with somebody, you know uh, you know yeah, sometimes we regret, how the hell did I fall in love with this person, but but
Yeah.
jokes apart, the most important things in our life have not come from mind. It has come pre-mind
Hmm.
and post-mind, right? So this mind is still the where the thinking happens, the decision happens, the explainability can happen, and you feel good about it. But it's much more than that. There's the things that are happening in the perception world, you know
Hmm.
uh, and things that are happening in the action world. So there's perception, decision, and action, right? So the mind map only captures the thinking part, the decision part of it, but this is much more than the thinking part also. And that's why I feel of it as a field of context is a field of consciousness, which kind of allows you to have very different interactions. Today there are three kinds of interactions between problem solvers and solution consumer personalities. The first kind of interaction is the poorest kind of interaction, which is debates. And
Hmm.
debates are fact based. Oh, my fact is different from your fact, and therefore I am right and you're wrong. So that's a very poor kind of interaction. The second kind of interaction is discussion. Discussion is less fact, is maybe fact based, but it is allowing for other facts also. So all the facts get into a bucket, and then you make like this stew. You make a big stew out of it. It's not really great cooking, but it's just a big stew. So, and then you have the third kind of interaction, which is the best kind, which is dialogue. One entity makes the other entity better. One condiment makes the other condiment better. The food really is enhanced by the various things interacting with each other.
Hmm.
For dialogue to happen, facts cannot be the only way you think about it. You need frameworks. A
Hmm.
dialogue works better with frameworks, right? So ontologies. Frameworks are built on ontologies, ways of thinking about problem spaces and how they interact. And then they have memory of purpose, memory of process, memory of data, all of them interacting with each other. That's the field of context. That's the field of consciousness, much more than a mind map, I would say.
Yeah, and I like in the video it showed there's a combination of people observation and then leveraging technology to pull out more actions and more
Absolutely.
interactions that we as people don't always can't see.
We can't see because it's just, before you serve a great experience to somebody, you have to serve them humility.
Hmm.
Uh, and the problem space shifting is serving them humility. Oh, I thought I was solving this problem. I'm actually solving something different, you know. And you have three kinds of data, right? Your data that you have, you work on it. Data that you don't have, but you can get from outside, and then data that you have to create, right? So the more and more you appreciate the problem space, the more and more you will orient yourself towards getting all three kinds of data. And then you're more and more contextual to the reality. And there's lesser of a reality representation gap. So in a world of agents and agentic AI, building field of context is going to become essential.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we are at time. That flew by. This has been an amazing conversation. And I think all the listeners should check out the podcast page. We'll have a link to the video there. They can get the full transcript, really start to reflect on what does it mean to build a field of context and how can you start to pair those human observations with technology to get those different types of data. And that will be the fuel to making decisions differently. Really appreciate your time today. It was great having you on the podcast. If listeners want to find you after they hear this episode, where can they find you?
They can find me at www.mu-sigma.com. The dash in between mu and sigma is very important. Don't forget it. It stands for how mu and sigma interact with each other.
Oh, okay. Nice. And then we'll also have a link to Mu Sigma on the podcast page. If you want to hear more episodes of Leader Generation, you can find them at modop.com. That's modop.com, or just search Leader Generation wherever you listen to podcasts. And until next time, thanks again for coming. And I hope you have a great rest of the summer. I hope it's not too hot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.